A tin hut private. This is the War on Comics. I'm Colin.
I'm Omar.
We're at the end of our run on the Swamp. We got Swamp Thing 5 and 6, the Alan Moore saga, and a saga it was.
It was a saga.
How do you feel about the last leg?
The last leg? I gotta say that was the swampiest.
We're deep in it. The foliage overgrowing everything.
And we even go into the space series.
Rockin' Rick Veitch stepping in.
He's
show us all the
sci-fi on.
Yeah, man, like proper, like boomer, golden age sci-fi,
right?
Wankery.
Yeah, and a lot of a send up to like Jack Kirby worship and stuff, which is cool, but not necessarily where I would think you would take the Swamp Thing.
For sure, I'd say at the end of the day, the landing is solid and the run is done. I have a lot of thoughts rereading these. I feel like maybe I'll get into this as we flip through. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. So shall we dive into the murky depths?
Yes, 5 and 6.
I'm just be so happy to stop making swamp puns when we're done with this. Let's get into this. Right, the Swamp Thing, volume 5 and 6. I think we can combine these on account of I don't think there's much to say about these that hasn't been said in their previous dissections of the Swamp Thing run. What's your takeaway from the whole series, I guess, let's say?
I think that number one, Totleben was holding this. He was putting it all together, holding it all together, and I think even in his issues early on, he definitely knew what Alan Moore was trying to say.
Right.
And I love Steve Bissette's issues. They at this point I'm missing them. And I think it's a case. It's kind of like the classic case of like writer not versus the artist, but that they just weren't gelling.
The Bissette and Moore, or
Moore and Rick Veitch.
I
actually don't. I wasn't vibing with them.
Right.
How do you feel about these guys?
I like Rick Veitch's stuff, but it is like, I guess the arc as a whole, I consider to be like transitional in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Transitional for Alan Moore, going from Earth, the 2000 AD, the Watchmen, and like coming into something else. And I don't think this is like peak Moore. I don't think this is like the best example of his specific kind of comics. It's maybe like indicative of how much we needed Alan Moore in comics, or needed someone of this talent level to introduce guys like Constantine. And like when Alan Moore is on your good side, he gives you these really interesting, straightforward arcs that are like, as much the Alan Moore is painted now as like a guy who hates superheroes and a guy who hates comics, and like I think it's a guy who obviously hates comic companies because they fucked him over.
It's like that's the comics companies are pushing that narrative that Alan Moore hates comics, but it's not.
And I think he's done with comics in a lot of ways. I think comics are maybe done as a like medium. I mean, if I saw comics go through Alan Moore's time, and I saw the distribution, the print runs, the cultural relevancy, and then I saw what they were now, where it's like 28 variant covers on number ones that are rebooted to eternity, and like just the weird like in the shadows Wednesday Warrior of it all. Like I would probably throw my hands up as well. And
feels very lacking of taste now.
And to give to kind of get back to what I'm saying about like what Alan Moore is doing for comics, like this arc here in number 5, it's sort of the big plot is his girl Abby is busted for swamp sex.
She
runs away,
canoodling with the swampy,
to Gotham, which is a choice you make.
And I hate this, by the way. I'm gonna say this representation
Oh,
of him going
him.
through the green,
Yes.
I think just feels so like a cop out, which is what I'm just because I love Rick Veitch as well. His
Right.
1963 stuff was fucking sick.
Yes.
I gotta say, even though the comic was gross, the one we saw with
The Brat Pack, right?
it was done so well and so to
Yes.
his style, and I don't know. I see this as like they're just trying to get the book out month to
Yeah,
month,
for sure.
and
I mean, it's this is a challenge when you sort of like develop a certain style, because I don't think you get the Swamp Thing without that. Well, first of all, without Bernie Wrightson, right? You
Right.
start with Wrightson, which is a huge fucking shadow cast
Yeah.
over everything
Yeah.
and everyone. And then you have Bissette, God bless him, who's like
Yes.
finding a way to do that in the 80s and really at the cutting edge of like what I would call like edgelord style.
Yeah.
Like not quite what we would call outlaw now, but also definitely not, DC House by any means. And basically, yeah, I think you're right. Like now he is the shadow,
Yeah.
and we have to kind of flesh it out. And Rick Veitch, I think, would be much more comfortable. And we see the kind of stuff that he's more comfortable drawing as we go on. I don't know that he's the best artist for this particular story. I think eventually he finds his own footing, and of course he ends up writing and drawing. At the same time, I'm not going to let you besmirch my good
Look at
man's
that.
name.
Like,
yeah, like it's not that he doesn't have chops at all. It's just that it doesn't. We lose all that like shadowy, crosshatchy, just goth shit that kind of like what really sparked those first issues of Swamp Thing. But to my point about Alan Moore being a comics guy and making comics, it's like here's Swamp Thing invading Gotham, and we're doing like power scaling. We got Lex Luthor, we got fucking Batman coming into the fray. Like this is
great Batman, by the way.
Yes, this is you know, this is a this is a Totleben. Yeah, okay, great. What do they call it? CRT TV.
Dude, like this issue is where I would start pointing to
Total Bomb is the man.
Look at this.
Yes, this is very cool.
He's fucking shredding, and I think that he represents
is really great.
It's beautiful,
some death metal demo or something.
Dude. He's just. I think he understands the feeling that Alan Moore was trying to throw down.
And if that's from inking Bissette, if that's from just maybe if he made Bissette art, Bissette art, I don't know what. But yeah, you're 100% correct. He is the spine of this series, and his DNA is in all this stuff, and he is kind of patching all these
like even that
struggles together.
This and this whole spread to me is just. It's different than Bissette, but it captures the Swamp Thing like aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's still horror.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say it's whatever. Bissette is Bissette. There's a reason why they can only get him to do the covers. It's a monthly book. It has its struggles, but to get back to Alan Moore, he's delivering month to month. And he's giving you comic book shit. And yeah, I think maybe.
Dude, holy shit, man! And that lettering. I mean, maybe I'm getting hung up because I think I am much more inclined to the art here.
Yeah.
In the whole medium.
Yes.
Anyways, but it's a marriage to me. It's a marriage of the story and art and the plotting and like all top down, all these things.
Yeah, this is not Alan Moore gets to shine, I think, in some of his. You'll get to see some Mooreisms a little bit more as we go along, but yeah, up until this point, it's like kind of straightforward layouts.
Yeah.
But we end with Swamp Thing disintegrated, and Abby going back to the swamp, and there's so much like. I don't know. I feel like there's a way to cut about a third of this run out and have like something a little bit more plot based.
It starts here.
I think because it's so bound to this monthly production, and Moore's doing other stuff, and the other artists are doing other stuff. That like what I can see now with the totality of it as filler was so cool. I think these are 991s,
Fuck
which is
yeah.
kind of crazy. Listen, side note, it's very hard to draw sneakers. I challenge anyone reading this or listening to us right now. Take your sneakers, put them down, and try drawing them. The way they
In
like,
perspective.
they're very difficult. He really gets a lot of this wrong because it says New Balance on the back instead of in. I know too much about this shit. But yeah, I don't know why Abby's rocking them, but I love that he has her rocking these. And they didn't come in blue, by the way, but doesn't matter. we're cutting some corners here to get our new Bals on feet.
Looking back, this is one of my favorite pages from kind of
Oh yeah,
just the silent panels and stuff.
Her coming home alone.
Yeah, and then just
Swamp Man
absolutely deteriorated. Man, this issue was kind of crazy. I reading the forward, I was like, I don't remember these guys at all. Like,
yeah,
they just kind of came back out.
Were they
nowhere.
before the Alan Moore run, or
it must have been, and then it just kind of gets very.
Yeah, it's an abusive husband. This lady's kind of sheltered. Abby's bringing her out of her shell, and it's sort of about Abigail, sort of like coming into her own and being something without Swamp Thing, showing that she's got her own gumption. Classic EC-isms right here. They were laying that on thick. You knew. This is a Rick Veitch app. Yeah, rockin' Rick Veitch. Got to have some fun with that one.
I love this one.
And yeah, I think they do a standalone issue like that, so that we can get to these two, which are sort of a pair. And this is very much this is the Alan Moore that I'm talking about, where we get like these two issues in conversation with each other, right? So you have like Abby on her own world with the world's here. You get Swamp Thing on his own. These kind of panels, like these kind of parallels in layouts. I don't think it goes like one for one, but it's follows somewhat closely into splash pages. I think yeah, it's sort of essentially we have this issue, which is Abigail in her kind of dreamland, and she's like, frolicking with the Swamp Thing. We all know this is just her kind of escapist fantasy here. And then you have Swamp Thing kind of creating in his blue world his fantasy.
So dark.
Yeah, man. And all these redesigns of Swamp Thing are just a good time, and he's
so much fun.
He has his fantasy with her. She has her fantasy with
when she's in the swamp again in her dreams.
Yeah, where's she?
I think
she curled up with him. But yeah, her curled up with the swamp in her little dream world. Swamp Man going through their dream town.
He builds the town for her and everything.
So like, his Constantine, her Gordon. It's this is why we come to Alan Moore for these kind of like big thoughts, big ideas.
Kind of these character development, like within
and metatextual, like doing like having the layout interact with the story. It's like, I don't know, very very Alan Moore.
Yeah, he's using the medium to extra degree.
Yeah, like I'm watching all these fucking, I don't know how I fell into this, but I'm watching these goddamn like random Pixar movies that I've never seen.
Dude, sick. What you on?
Nothing good. Or Disney or Pixar. Like I saw Raya the Last Dragon.
That was a Pixar?
I think it was a Disney.
Oh, damn.
And it was like slop, bro. The new fucking Zootopia movie.
Dude, the new Zootopia movie? Fuck yeah.
So we had our blue Swamp Thing. Now we're in the red zone. My point being, with a lot of those, Elio, I think that was like a really new one that came out.
I did want to see that one.
I was watching it, and it's, it's, to me, all that stuff is slop. I am not a big fan of those. I don't know why I watch them all. If I'm not a fan of them, you'd think I could find better things to do with my time, But regardless,
as a completionist, I think
I'm watching the slop, and I'm watching that Elio movie, and it's like, a boy, and he goes to an alien planet and gets into shenanigans and hijinks. But like, I was, why is this why is this a cartoon?
Yeah.
Like, this is a Steven Spielberg in tone. This kid going on a different planet and meeting an alien friend, and he can't find friends at home, so he's finding them abroad. Just make this a movie. Why is this a fucking cartoon? Zootopia, I understand being a cartoon.
That's I definitely agree, because I mean, the Zootopia one has the theme of being like, it should be
funny
a
animals.
cartoon.
You would be a horror if it was,
it would
realistically
be Cats,
rendered.
the movie.
Yes, exactly. So I
but things like
understand that. But there's there's a lot of things where I'm watching where I'm like, why is this medium?
Right.
There's frankly a lot of superhero stories where I'm like, why is this story a Daredevil story? Why is this story being told? Why are you using Iron Man to tell this story? What does this have? Why is this hardwired into comics? And that's the difference between a good adaptation and a bad adaptation. 9 out of 10 times, as I could tell you, well, they need to tell Logan needs to be Logan, so that because of this backstory and because of the largeness of what do you call it, myth, and because of he's interacting with all these other characters that have superpowers, like this can only be a Wolverine story, and it can only be the last Wolverine story, and it can only be the last Wolverine story following this series. Like, good comic movies justify the comic bookness, and bad comic book movies adaptations are just a random ass action movie where a guy has a Punisher's costume on, a random ass spy thriller, but the spy happens to be Black Widow.
Right.
And like, this is all to say that like Alan Moore's stories need to be comics because he's doing comic book shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a movie. It's not a cartoon. It's not a video game. It's not a stage play. It's a comic book. And he utilizes comic book storytelling to get there. And like, when we get into this Silver Age kind of artwork to talk about older characters, and like, because we're talking about Golden Age characters, we're now doing very simple layouts. We're having them do this made up language, and we're understanding what they're saying even though we don't see the words, because of how the characters interact with each other, how their facial expressions are laid out. This is why this story is a comic book. You have justified your comic bookness, and that's how I feel about every Alan Moore story. Essentially, if it's a comic, he doesn't make comics because that's all he knows or something. He makes them because that's how he wants to tell this specific story he's telling, and he uses every trick at his disposal. He invents some new tricks. It's
he innovates on the form.
Absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying.
He pushes it. If comics don't already do some shit he needs them to do, he will make them do some new shit.
Did we read this, by the way, in the past? We read an Adam Strange, I think.
Oh, that's a good
back
question.
In the day. And I don't know if this showed up.
I'll tell you, man. When you get into the sci-fi side of DC and Marvel, I am fucking lost. I do not have a head for that stuff. This is a really good story, though. It's essentially swamped. Like, I think these Hawkman guys are Thanagarians, and they're on Ran. And Adam Strange is from Earth, but he's on Ran. He's like Ran's defender.
He gets teleported. Like, he has some sort, not the curse, but like it just happens to him. He needs to be in a specific spot. Gets teleported back and forth from this planet.
And so, look at our the Eisner doctor.
So tough. This is one of my favorite Swamp Things, by the way.
So hard, like red multiple arms. Like,
dude.
Why not? You can have any form. Basically, he adapts to whatever planet he's on. And this is a good run of comic booky comics where the Swamp Thing is trying to get back home to Abigail, and to do that is endless MacGuffins. He gets the Ray to teleport him to the next planet by way of making their land fertile, which the Thanagarians are kind of trying to starve them out. So it's like very Ray Bradbury sci-fi, but a satisfying story in its own right. But also, does not feel like filler in terms of this larger story. there's some bullshit as we go along.
There's some crazy shit. Yeah.
But this is not that. This is still, again, Alan Moore, Mr. I Hate Comics, doing some proper fucking comic book storytelling. I love a Hawk people.
They're so cool.
You try reading the fucking Hawkman Wikipedia, you will get fucking whiplash. It is such hardcore gibberish, and I don't understand anything about them. All I know is that I had the fucking toy when I was a kid. I really liked it, and so every time I see them, it makes me happy. And
they
I
look
don't know
so
why.
Cool.
They just look cool. It's
and the weapons. I gotta say, their weapons were always the best.
Always this medieval stuff. Yeah. And they're just like kind of badass, but not like full edgelord style. Yeah. I think Justice League Unlimited, that cartoon, has a really good Hawk Girl in it. That new Superman has a really good Hawk Girl in it. So I am a simple child. You know, we could talk fucking layouts and mediums and blah 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 all day long. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I had the fucking. I'm trying to remember what the DC one. I think it was. Oh God, Superpowers. DC Superpowers. His '80s action line, and you squeeze Hawkman's legs and his wings flap. I'm a simple man, Omar. I'm a simple man.
I would love that. Just to like even mess around.
It was it made me a Hawkman fan for life. I know nothing about Hawkman. I kind of don't want to. I kind of don't give a shit.
Harvey Birdman.
That's if there's a great fucking Hawkman run, let me know. I don't think there is.
That's a good one. I'd love to know that.
Especially care. I don't need it, and it's not going to affect my opinion about it at all because guess what? I just liked the toy as a kid and I liked it. Okay, boy.
And I think that's valid.
What are we doing here?
Okay, this is where I'm like the timeline is getting weird for them on the back end of production. Right. I think they're just kind of going through it, but
Bissette is writing, Veitch is drawing, and it's they're just finding an excuse to put Frankenstein in.
Yeah,
because they've done all the other spooks and goblins and ghouls. They haven't done Frankenstein, so we're just doing Frankenstein.
Yeah,
the demon sends Arcane's soul, or it's Arcane's brother. He made a little monster man.
He made the Patchwork Man was like a vessel for his brother.
Gotcha.
And he's in hell and he's facing his trial of being a soccer ball or a football or whatever in this like. Do you remember Mutant League, the game?
Oh yeah.
Mutant League. It was giving
Mutant League football. I got you. Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Wilford Brimley here,
dude.
Abigail in the old folks' home. Getting bullied by her situation.
Yeah, this fucking guy.
And yeah, it's a filler issue. There's no.
I gotta say,
you can't tell me otherwise. We got good art. We technically can now say in this run that we've seen Frankenstein. Good job incorporating Frankenstein in your comic. Show me more about fucking Swamp Thing trying to get back to Earth. This is dragging, but again, this is month-to-month production. Get good art, get some kind of closure with her and her dad, and some meditation on no matter how abusive and evil dads are, you still love them. They're still your dad, but he's so fucked up. They were showing him all this stuff to torture him more, but he ended up just liking them.
He just enjoyed it.
Yes,
and so
they Mutant League football his ass.
Yeah, it's missing that like Alan Moore actual like depth to it. I think that it's just, and like from Bissette's forwards, like I feel like he had a lot of empathy for Abby as a character because he would say like, yeah, we're putting her through some shit and like she would be in a fucking madhouse. So I think this is all just in my head. Like what he's doing is I think he's trying to give her some sort of like
closure,
like something.
Right.
But I didn't realize that her dad. I just don't know anything about the Arcane family or anything.
It was sort of wrapped up before this run started.
Yeah, but I mean, anyways, now we get a insane Totleben issue.
Yeah, where are you at with this one?
So this, for just like comic's sake, I think what they said was Totleben made this as he had a plot in mind, and he just went ahead and made all of these pages without any no text or anything. So Alan Moore had to go and look at these pages that he had made
and retrofit a story into them.
And it ends up being like a weird, like, rape.
You have a lot more empathy or sympathy for this kind of bullshit than me.
Yeah.
I just look at this and I'm like, all right, yeah, you're just playing around with the shit. I think it looks cool.
Exactly.
It's
like
the conceit, I think, is Swamp Thing is on the way to one planet from another. He gets intersected by this weird kind of alien, somewhat sentient machine. And it's Swamp Thing sort of adapting to that machine.
Well, he's getting integrated into the machine,
right?
And yeah, I mean, he's just doing his like send ups to like some Jack Kirby style like stuff, and I mean, I didn't really get much out of this. Because the shock of value is kind of shitty, and
it's fair. I mean, they're having fun. It's a filler issue.
Yeah.
to me, it's a filler issue. Again, I understand. Like, you've been working on these things. We need to pad some shit out. We're not even going to properly letter them. I'm just going to type this stuff. Yeah. It's a robot thing. There's something about sex with a machine, alien, organics. I don't know. Pretty inconsequential to the story.
Literally, it just passes by.
Yes.
It just passes by, and then we go to this planet where Adam
the
Strange,
Green Lantern stuff. Okay. Yeah. This I liked a lot.
This was cool.
We got some of the coolest looking little critters here. This is the all plant planet as promised 2 issues ago.
Yes, at this point.
We're finally here. And, it's what happens if Swamp Thing can do his swamp power on a whole planet of sentience. So it's horror now because it's not plants, it's living creatures. Yeah. And all the creatures' thoughts and minds are intertwining. And it's like, how do we convey that? And I think they do a pretty good job of like, I'm not going to let you besmirch my man Veitch on this one. This is his time to shine. This is Alan Moore's time to shine. You want to talk about the marriage of text and visuals, and this page justifies all of that.
And even these are dimensions within, because this is like, these people are integrated into his being, and they're looking like it fucks with your understanding of space and time.
For sure, because this is on its own like a perfectly suitable panel. This artist lady is sort of seeing her art from the outside, but then of course it's part of this mouth of Swamp Thing. And it's like, again, how do you use comics to convey that everyone's brains are together? It's like, it's metatextual, man. It's layout. It's like, this is the Alan Moore shit. This is the stuff he can do that no one else, frankly, can do as well, or was able to do before him as well.
Efficiently, I gotta say. It's very efficient writing and art in this one.
And we're getting, a very heady concept. And also, again, I hate to belabor this, Mr. I Hate Comics Alan Moore, old grumpus Alan Moore, we're bringing in fucking Green Lantern-ass Green Lanterns,
And this is his thesis right here of, like, you've brought it up before, where I just wanted to... So conflict itself is your only true foe. You cannot defeat it by physical force, because it is physical force. To defeat conflict, you must engage your opponent's mind. Engage the mind.
Yes, which is we see this time and time again with Alan Moore books where, you have the big monster and you have the spaceman that shoots lasers. And what do they end up doing? They end up kind of talking, and he's able to sort of, undo this crazy meld together, puts them in these like gem prison things. This is all like, to me, Jim Steranko multimedia screens and all that.
Definitely.
And he's able to safely put Green Lantern into the body of his mentor, which gives him some kind of grief and closure. And then I forgot why he's on this planet exactly. Oh, to get some ray that blasts him.
He learns how to, because he needs to change his electromagnetic
frequency to hit back into Earth, because those guys that blasted him, Earth-proofed Swamp Thing's re-entry.
This was crazy.
Adam Strange shows up and is like, "Hey, Abby, your guy's still alive," and she's like, "Not to me."
Well, it's like she doesn't believe him because she just thinks he's a fucking nut job.
Right, understandably so, since there's a lot of nut jobbery here. And is this another?
This is full Rick
Jesper?
Veitch right here.
Yeah, and so we're full Rick Veitch equal full Kirby equal full Fourth World. It's fine. We're on our Mobius chair. We're trying to appease Darkseid here. Oh yeah, he's using Swamp Thing's
Look at this
swamp power to turn into the Mobius chair because his shit's out of gas essentially.
I gotta say, this was pretty tough. This shit's pretty sick.
I am not mad at like this issue as a whole, other than being a fucking filler issue again.
Another.
We're reading monthly deadlines. I get it. Not everyone can be present for everything, but when you're reading these as a whole, this kind of shit is pretty jarring. But this is another way of doing cool, like you're everywhere all at once. You have this shared consciousness, and we're trying to do like anti-life equation. Let's see here. So yeah, he's like saying, "Oh, you got deceived. You're not doing anti-life. He says all life. It's different, but I'm still going to use this chair for something." And yeah, just fast forward to him seeing what's going on with old Abby's life when she's been out.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're back on the road.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It is a really cool chair. As long as the anti-life equation is unsolved, as long as a scrap of free will exists in the universe, the dark side remains unfulfilled.
So he equates love to also being like a part of the anti-life equation. Yes,
the element that escaped me until now.
Love.
So stupid. Great. I love it. And now we are
getting back.
Oh yeah, we're back to Earth. We're blasting through the force field and we're doing some quick revenge. This is like, I think we have the whole team on board now, right? Like this is we're doing,
I think there you go.
Yeah, our kind of grand conclusion. We got, or maybe no, that's the next one. So this is Veitch holding it down, but don't worry, we're setting the stage here for our grand finale.
Just tying up loose ends is how I took this issue.
For sure. And we're kind of getting revenge on all these people that helped blast us, drowning the sky in flowers. Which is kind of funny that, I don't know, maybe this is insight into the male psyche. The first thing you do is start murking your foes rather than getting with your old lady. Everyone says that, like you ever talk to a guy that's like divorced or something?
Yeah.
Everything I did was for her. It was all for her. It was all for she. I was doing everything for her. Man. Yes. I put
myself.
I did go to Thailand. Yes, I went away. It was to earn money for her. And she doesn't get that. So maybe this is, a little bit of that, right? Oh, this is good. They plant-proof the guy, but guess what? You had a tomato, stupid. Now you're a tree. You fucking idiot. You utter buffoon. But anyways, after we murk all these guys, Swampy is back
in the victory.
Yeah, I'm not letting you. No, I'm not letting you knock my man Rick Veitch on this. This is good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I did like that one. I like the whole way through. I was like, all right, I see what you guys are doing.
I'm not letting you disperse my man rocking Rick Veitch.
Got Dr. John up in
Final
here.
Episode, the herb doctor here. So this is our sort of a grand finale, right? And we got
Bissette's back for
everyone here. Bissette's doing some pages. Rockin' Rick Veitch is doing some pages. I guess against your point, no Totleben.
Oh yeah?
Crazy.
No way.
But he's not there for the ending. But guess what? Who has showed up to you this whole time? It was him. And we're kind of just like enjoying our time together. We murked all these fools. We get to have fun with some alligators. We're doing some quick fucking psychedelics just to get us back. A good welcome home, babe.
That clears up his mind to think about all of humanity in existence.
The greening.
His place in it. And
this has got to be some Bissetteism here, right?
I think he signed it.
Yeah, see, come on, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not I love Steve Bissette and Rick Veitch, too, and I just think his the language that he set up for this, like it
Yeah.
just fits to me.
For sure, and even down to this jank. Yeah, even when Bissette's doing jank, it's still
kind of
point.
cool.
And this is just, kind of a nice, quiet send off. We just see him alone at the swamp. Dr. John's sort of like watching over him. Okay,
Totleben. There you go.
Boom! All right, look at us. We're back in. We're back in the whole
Happy
game.
ending.
I don't know, man. I maybe oversold the run.
But on this one, I mean, I would say I heavily enjoyed the 4 books, the 4 first books, more than I thought I would.
Right.
More than I really thought I would looking back, but I needed to kind of see this kind of side angle to it where you get a few different artists, their takes on it. I'm sure that he because I know Alan Moore writes plots it out and everything, but I'm sure Rick Veitch had his own way of telling it. And for me, maybe it was a little bit of that baggage of I was used to the Bissette stuff.
Right. And I mean, being story-wise too, it's like, this is some wild shit. We're at Gotham. We're on all these different planets. We're experiencing all these different Swamp Thing bodies. So we were able to do some things that arguably didn't need to be done.
Yeah.
Maybe tonally are a bit off. I definitely think there's a more succinct way of maybe communicating these ideas that are conveyed through the run itself. It's sloppy. It's not perfect. It's not like total auteurship where you write it and you draw it and it's a graphic novel and there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's month to month. There's hiccups.
Yeah.
There's confusing shit. There's fill-ins. There's it's a bumpy road. And again, to see, I guess what I appreciate about the series as a whole, right, is that it very much so humanizes Alan Moore, and it very much shows Alan Moore as a working month to month writer.
It's a different side to the the seriousness of it, right? I guess that kind of take, like you're saying.
And I think it's super important to comics in the sense that I think it was sort of a transition from newsstand into Vertigo. This anticipates Vertigo in every way, and I don't think you get to have a Vertigo or tell those purely adult, segregated from the rest of the DC universe kind of storytelling without what this comic establishes in tone, especially because you can read comics well into the 90s. In a lot of ways, I feel like there was kind of some like goth era Marvel comics, like the Darkhold, anything related to that, like Ghost Rider and Morbius and all that. That was them trying to keep up with Vertigo, trying to keep up with The Crow, trying to keep up with the darker, edgy comics that were coming out. And that's well into the 90s that you see that. This goes back to 84, this run starts, and you see all of that DNA in those early books.
Yeah.
So even though it is month to month, and even though it is sloppy, and I don't believe there was as grand a vision as certainly something fully coherent From Hell, which is one artist, one story, ground up, historical fiction. A comic like that is obviously, I think, a little bit elevated, but maybe you don't get there without this month to month slogging it out.
Would you, I mean, this might be even a crass way to put it, but maybe Swamp Thing walked so those other series.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I don't Vertigo is not necessarily my imprint of choice. I've read a lot of it, but it's not I'm going to be oh, if you haven't read Preacher, you don't know what's going on. I've read Preacher, I like it, but I would much rather someone read 8 Ball. I would much rather someone, I'm a Fantagraphics guy at the end of the day. That's more my style if I'm looking for mature comics or whatever. I would rather a Will Eisner graphic novel, it just in terms of what my tastes are. But that Vertigo stuff is super important to a lot of people, and maybe that's a gateway drug for a lot of people into more serious comics.
That's a good way to put it, man.
And I think it's a gateway realistically to like modern Image. Like I don't think you get to Sex Criminals or Saga or Walking Dead to some extent without Vertigo being that kind of buffer, being that kind of in-between zone where it's not outlaw comics, it's not fucking Tim Vigil showing aliens butt fucking each other to death. It's not like
shit.
Yeah, it's like not for like, super edgelords. It's also, a lot more mature than, newsstand Marvel stuff. So basically to see like the direct antecedent to that, to see the direct precursor setting up that Vertigo style, which sets up so much in comics, it's massively important. And I was just kind of shocked reading this. If I have one big takeaway from all this, other than Alan Moore does like comics actually a lot, it's that thank Alan Moore for Vertigo, and thus thank Alan Moore for Modern Image, and thank Alan Moore for all the things that come from Vertigo, because that stuff is so tonally pitch perfect established. I mean, if him inventing Constantine doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does. The man gave us Vertigo, period. And this has nothing to do with Vertigo Comics. This is him taking over a monthly title and writing it while various people try to fill in the gaps. It's sloppy as hell, but from that chaos comes like one of the huge pillars of modern comics.
It definitely was a blind spot for me too, and I'm glad that we went through this because it is like the transitional period into a lot of the things that got me into comics.
Yes, that kind of, I mean, in terms of like kind of darker horror theme, maybe even more just like interpersonal rather than, rock'em sock'em fighting. I mean, that said, that's my glazing. My other side is I will probably read Watchmen like literally 10 times before I reread this series.
We've gone through the swamp.
Yeah, so we really stretched this one out, and I feel a little fatigued, if you will, given that this isn't necessarily my favorite of the Alan Moore runs. But I'm glad I read it. I feel confident in it, and I do feel confident recommending it, especially if you just take Alan Moore off the table. If you just like horror comics, if you like 80s edgelord stuff, proto edgelord, if you like the Vertigo tone and you're looking for more stuff, like this is a very good comic.
It's an easy recommend for sure, and it still has enough of the juice to like if you're a beginner fucking reader and you like horror and stuff like that, I would definitely check it out if you've never read this, because it's like an innovation of the form in storytelling, like early on, or even just in this character. And I think it's interesting enough on its own with like, I'm thinking like X-Files stuff, like pre-X-Files, like
Monster of the Week,
all that kind of stuff, and even messing with like metaphysics and things like that, which are just insane.
Yeah, it is. There is so much grounded storytelling. Like, you're talking about Monster of the Week. Of course, I'm thinking of like the sunken vampire city, or like just the various monsters that pop up throughout the book. And like I said, they bring up Frankenstein into this one, and I think that's partially, again, I wasn't being facetious. I think they had a checklist. I think they were trying to cover like what weirdo creep haven't we done?
Out of all of them, it was Frankenstein.
How do we retrofit that into the story we're telling right now? So, little long, not gonna lie, little clunky at times, but still overall worth reading. No regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets. With that said, well, what's next for our Alan Moore adventure? You like Supreme?
I would love to read some Supreme.
You're on Supreme. I'm on Supreme. Next for Alan Moore, we got Supreme. Next for the channel. Hey, anything we fucking want.
That's
you don't
fucking
tell
right.
us how to fucking live. All
That's
right.
fucking right.
That's right. At ease, private.